Hi, everyone. Welcome to IAND's Advocacy Day 2023. I'm excited to kick off today's event by sharing a little bit of why and how I got involved in advocacy when I became a dietitian. So whether you're a student, RD, or NDTR, or if this is your first year in nutrition or your 50th, it's never too early or too late to get involved in advocacy and policy. So my journey began in 2015 when I moved to Chicago for my first job as an RD. I quickly got involved with the Chicago Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics and participated as a committee member for the Community Outreach Committee. So being involved at that local level allowed me to meet other like-minded nutrition individuals and helped me build a network in a city that I was not familiar with. So as the years progressed, I moved on to becoming CAN's secretary and eventually president in 2019 to 2020. And as a CAN member, I had earned a scholarship to participate in what used to be IAND's public policy workshop in 2017, now known as Advocacy Summit. So as you can see in these pictures, we had a great time in DC that year. I was definitely nervous about talking to our legislators and definitely had my fair share of imposter syndrome. However, attending Advocacy Day and completing the trainings that were prepared for us like ahead of time really helped me learn the ins and outs of the bills we were going to advocate for, and I learned how to represent and present to the reps at the offices. So we always went in groups to meet with the reps, or their team members were there as well. And there was always someone who had done this before that led the way so that we didn't feel as intimidated. So it was a lot of fun. And as you can see here, we took plenty of pictures while we were on the Hill and on the steps of the Capitol. And then in 2018, FENCI was held in Washington, D.C., and we had the biggest turnout for public policy workshop that year, which was amazing. This amazing picture was taken to showcase the outpour of dietitians, NDTRs, and nutrition students that were there to represent our profession and promote nutrition. I should also mention that before the trainings and Hill visits, we had a great time going around and exploring DC as well. So that was always fun to do as a group. We always got to try different restaurants, go to the museums. So we made it an entire trip of, yes, we're going to go and promote advocacy and nutrition, but also getting to know one another and networking and exploring DC and all of the beautiful things that it has to offer. And we always went when the weather was really nice too. So it was a lot of fun walking around and enjoying that. And then here, this was the last advocacy summit I was able to attend in person, I think for many people because of the pandemic. So this is before the pandemic. It was probably my most successful one, and I would say just because I was able to actually meet my rep at the time, which was Mike Quigley. It was also really nice to feel more confident as I did this each year. But truly, the advocacy team will prepare you well, and they're always super supportive. The trainings that take place before each of the Hill visits were really helpful. And then also our local and even our district level or state level representatives are super, super helpful. And you can see that everyone's smiling, everyone's involved, and everyone's supportive of one another as we go and meet with the reps and their team. So why should you get involved? You're not only advocating for the profession, but also the patients and clients you're serving. It's always amazing when you can tell like a story of how a piece of legislation has impacted a client or patient that you're working with currently. The stories bring the bills to life, and it provides the reps an even better understanding of why dietitians and NDTRs are so important in healthcare and why it matters to us and the people we serve. It also helps them remember the visits and bills better too. So if you can provide those stories of, when a client has better nutrition and how it provides better health outcome, and especially if you could tie in a little bit of that like fiscal savings that they would be able to accomplish with better health outcomes and less visits in the hospital, less money being spent in healthcare, then that is always a plus as well. So having those stories about your clients, your patients, and the impact that dietitians have in the community is going to be really important. And then second, I had listed here as competency. So each year we're advocating for different bills and reviewing them with the advocacy team prior to each meeting. This really helps us to maintain the competency in what is happening in DC and how it affects us in our profession and our patients and clients. And then we show up as the nutrition professional and should always keep that at the top of mind. And as I mentioned before, I had a little bit of that imposter syndrome, but it was really helpful to know that with each year I build more confidence, which I'll talk about in a little bit as well. But just maintaining that competency helps with continuing education, making sure that we are on top of our game and know what we're talking about when we meet with the reps, is always something that is helpful to kind of think about and be familiar with each year. So competency is definitely something that I would say is another great reason to get involved in advocacy and public policy. As for networking and friendship, I'm going to loop those together because I've met so many incredible dietitians and nutrition professionals that I've maintained a relationship with over the past few years. They've been crucial in my personal and professional development, in my full-time job, and even as I worked my way up to being president of IAND. I've had them come in as guest speakers to some of my classes to talk about advocacy and professional development and public policy. I wouldn't be here without many of them. And for that, I'm truly thankful for having been involved with the Chicago Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, with the Illinois Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, and have been an Academy member since I've been a dietitian starting in 2015. And even before then, I think I was a member as a student too. So definitely taking advantage of student membership and dietetic membership at all levels and being involved at all levels, whether it's local, state, or national. The next couple of things that I had listed here was leadership and confidence builder. I'll tie those together because each year, as I'd mentioned before, I became more and more confident as a nutrition professional, and the skills that I've learned provided me an opportunity to grow as a leader. It allowed me to work on public speaking. It helped me navigate learning how to work with others, especially, populations I may not be familiar with, or individuals that I'm not familiar with, or disciplines that are outside of nutrition and dietetics. So that interdisciplinary work and being able to talk about your profession and the area that you've been studying for so long in is really wonderful. So being able to hone that in and work through that every year is really helpful in building my confidence as a dietitian and my professional and leadership skills as well. You get to work with so many different individuals, and you really get to develop that listening skill and be more involved in utilizing what you learn about the different populations and people that you work with, and how to incorporate that as a leader is really important. So I definitely think that that is another skill that I have really appreciated by getting involved in advocacy and public policy. And lastly, as I mentioned before, it is never too early or too late to get involved. So this looks great on a student resume for those that are applying for dietetic internships or coordinated programs to show their passion for the profession. It also looks great for nutrition professionals that are seeking leadership positions to show that they are the expert and comfortable in different settings. It can lead to advocate for what they believe in, which is important, and also, like I mentioned before, advocating for their clients and patients and making it known why dietitians are so critical in the healthcare arena. I'd like to thank everyone at the district, state, and national level for providing me so many different opportunities for growth these past few years. It has been an honor and privilege to get to know so many people and be involved in so many projects and committees, especially advocating for our profession. So if this is your first advocacy event, welcome, but please don't stop here. Connect with your local district and with our wonderful IAND Public Policy Committee to find out how you can continue to get involved. Advocacy is not just a one-day event, but should be something that you get involved with as your career grows. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day. And big thank you to the IAND Public Policy Committee and the state policy reps for putting on this wonderful advocacy day this year. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, Tina. Going